Hello students! Today we're going to talk about gender schema, gender identification, gender roles, gender constancy, and other things related to gender, especially in children ages 3 through 5. But to make this point even more important and more closer to home to you, you're going to see something that you've never seen before, that no one's ever seen before. Well, a few people, not very many. You're going to see under our children's beds, and you're going to see in their closets. Yee. Let's see. Okay, so come on along here. Let's find out how boys play. Okay. So there's Nerf guns everywhere. You don't have to see the Nerf guns. Yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. Okay, so how do boys play? There's Nerf gun world. Okay. Now, this has a lot of girls play. Oh, there's the science lab. This has a lot of girls stuff too. There's the girls stuff. Let's look at girls play for a minute. We got Barbie cars. We got little pet shop people. We got tons of stuffed animals. Boys play. We got, these is full of Matchbox cars. You can't see that. We got all sorts of things that shoot, things that make noise, everything else. Okay, let's check under the beds. Oh, there's one of their favorite toys. Do you like how that's in there? That's their little maze ball. That's kind of fun. Okay, so let's go. Oh yeah, the basketball thing's probably relevant there too. The shoot. Here's the other basketball goal. Okay, so let's check under the boys' bed. Ah, scary. Okay, what do we have under there? Okay, we have, you can't see this very good, but you have to trust me. K'NEX toys. We have Legos. I have no idea why we have toothpaste. We have more Nerf things. We have stuffed animals. We have lots of building things, constructing things, shooting things. Okay, let's go see what the girls play with. Dum-da-dum. You're not going to look at that room. Ah, too messy. Ignore it. Abort mission. Abort mission. Okay, so girls' room. Oh, closet. Okay. Girls' closet. What do we have in here? We have a little nesty, stuffed animal-y beds where all the little stuffed animals live. Okay. There they are. And then, let's look under their beds. Hopefully we won't find more toothpaste. Oh, there's Drawing World. All the drawing stuff and everything else. Pens, pencils. Yeah, Girls' World. There's their interior design sketch portfolio to design your dream room. There's Tiger. Tiger has an eye infection. He's not doing so well today. He's winking at you. Okay, so under here, what we have is, oh boy, it's too dark to see. But you're going to have to trust me. We have stuffed animals. We have Barbies. We have dress-ups. You got to see this. This is kind of cute. In the little toolbox, we got little stuffed animals with their faces all upright so they can breathe, and everybody has their own little comfortable spot. We got tons of stuff. Oops, Barbie clothes. Just drop them back under the bed. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about gender role identification in kids. So what happens is, I don't know if you can see me. When kids are roughly ages 3 through 6 are real strong years of gender role identification. That's when they start to understand a couple key things. Gender constancy, that I'm a boy and I'm always going to be a boy, or I'm a girl and I'm always going to be a girl, and that I have biological parts associated with that, and those parts aren't changing. And they start to understand gender role identity, okay? What that means is that kids start to understand through a complex mix of cognitions and environment, I'm a boy and this is what a boy means, and I'm a girl and this is what a girl means, okay? And they have really strong, rigid kind of ideas that they associate with what does it mean to be a boy and what does it mean to be a girl, okay? And because, think about kids 3 to 6. What do we know about kids 3 to 6? Are they real good at like flexible thinking and thinking out of the box and thinking that things can be one thing or another? No, they're not. So there's boy things and there's girl things, and the world is very much split by gender in terms of what boys can do and what girls can do. In fact, 50% of boys and 50% of girls say girls can't play with boy toys and boys can't play with girl toys. Now, you can say like, I'm going to raise different kids. I'm going to have blocks at our house. I should have showed you the blocks when we were downstairs. And you can go out of your way to do things like that, to have blocks and other things. But most kids, especially 3 to 6, the girls are going to want the Barbies, princess, girly stuff, and the boys are going to want the Tonka trucks, Matchbox cars, whatever else, because that's what they've identified with that people play with, the children, that they're supposed to do as far as girls and boys. Let me take you on another tour. Yeah, hold on. Here we go. We're going to go somewhere else. Okay, so, yeah, this is exactly what I want you to see. This is a picture of my husband carrying in one of the twin girls. Look how fragilely he's holding her. Look how carefully he's holding her. As if she could break, okay? So, why would he hold a boy person like that? Probably not, okay? We treat our boys and girls differently from a very young age. Here's me bringing in the other twin, by the way. So, in fact, so much so, we're going to go back to the boys' room for 1 minute. Meow, bye, tiger. And we'll be back here in a second. So much so that, so we have gender stereotypes all the time. We're all victim of them. We all do them. See this little Go Team light switch in our boys' room? Okay. When we bought that, I said, oh, that would look great in our boys' room. And my husband said, or our girls' room. And I was like, dang, good point. I was in the middle of a gender stereotype that I didn't even see. I didn't even recognize that I was doing it. But he recognized it right away. So, we do these things almost unconsciously. We have these gender stereotypes. And because kids' thinking is so rigid, at this age when they're first starting to understand gender schema theory, what does it mean to be a girl, all those things, what it means to be a boy. And gender schema is basically like, there's categories of masculine and categories of feminine, and we try to figure out what behaviors fit in what things. So this is when kids start to tell you that girls can't be policemen, and boys can't be princesses, and girls can't be this, and boys can't be that. So, gender, let me back up, environment, cognitions, biology start to come together to really intensify gender identification roles from 3 to 6. Now, there's things we can do to, now, let me talk about this for a minute. So what happens when kids are little, boys will play with boys and girls will play with girls and girls will play with boys and boys will play with girls when they're little kids, when they're preschoolers. But then that starts to pull apart as they get preschool, elementary school years. They don't want to play with the other gender anymore. The other gender has cooties, they're wrong, they're evil, they're weird. So much so that on playgrounds are very segregated, okay? And it's really interesting if you look at the playground literature research. Girls tend to play in smaller groups, groups of 2 and 3. Boys tend to play in large groups, groups of 10 and 12. Girls tend to use more words like let's and we gotta and we're gonna. And boys tend to use more directive like you go there, you go there. Teachers tend to cluster near the girls. Think about this. Elementary school. Go back there for a minute. There's predominantly female teachers, and they're predominantly in the inner part of the playground where the girls are, and there's maybe 1 or 2 teachers way out with the boys. You following me? Typically maybe it's like the gym teacher, the only male in the school, and he's out way with the boys, and he's in charge of 10,492 boys, and then all the other female teachers are in charge of the girls. Okay, girls are playing hopscotch, jump rope, things like that. Boys are much more likely to play large organized sports that are very competitive. Girls' things aren't generally as competitive. They're more just like little chanting rhymes and those things. Boys are much more likely to have a winner or loser. You're much more likely to be ostracized if you lose or win. I am not saying anything bad about it. I'm just saying that's how we play. Our play is very different. Boys are much more likely to engage in rough and tumble play. Boys are much more likely to associate whether you win or lost if you're a wimp or you're a hero or whatever else. So there's lots of gender differences in how we play, in how kids play. Okay, another thing you need to know. There's also big gender differences in terms of when our crisis points in terms of development are, okay? Girls' brains mature faster than boys' brains. I'm just saying, okay? So in terms of potty training, girls are usually ahead of boys. In terms of sleep cycles and REM cycles, they're ahead. In terms of fine motor skills, they're usually ahead. Sitting still, attention, cognitive skills, academic skills. Girls have a little advantage, okay? So what turns out is that kindergarten is perfectly suited for girls. They can't wait. It's great, you know? They get to color, they get to cut, they get to like make Valentine-y things. And boys are at a disadvantage from the very beginning when they start kindergarten. It's just not working for them, okay? So boys excel at large motor skills from a young age. And I'm not, even as I say that, those differences are small, and our culture exaggerates those differences to make the stereotypes, so I get that. But the things boys excel at aren't valued in the school academic environment, right? So boys are good at running and jumping and those things. Again, not that girls aren't, but that those things aren't valued in terms of, well, we want you to sit still and be quiet. And so we get things like, boys, why can't you be more like the girls and sit more still and be more quiet? And the boys are like, I thought I was being quiet. And then teachers start talking about inside voices, and you know what I mean. It's all downhill from there. So what we have is that there's great gender differences, and so the first crisis point for boys tends to be ages 5, 6, 7, when they're starting school, because they're not really geared to be as still and as good and as quiet as they need to be in elementary school. As they develop, and what we can do, we can decrease this gender inequity thing by not saying, boys, why can't you be more like the girls? Boys, line up over here. Girls, line up over here. Boys, you're not doing as well in your spelling as the girls. Don't do that. That doesn't work. So dividing people by gender tends to reinforce gender stereotypes. Girls' crisis, by the way, girls hit a crisis at age 10, 11, 12. You've been there, right, people who are women in my class? Pre-puberty, body changing, everything else, that's a real crisis point for girls. That's a difficult time in terms of body fat's being added in places that girls don't want body fat. They're trying to figure out their own identity, and again, not that boys aren't, but that tends to be a tough time. Their bodies are changing so that they really are at a different point in terms of what does this mean to have a body that looks like this. They probably have a lot of anxiety about what's puberty and what does it mean. Depression starts to increase in terms of rates of depression in girls among this time as far as pre-adolescence and early adolescence. Eventually we have more eating disorders in girls. So there's a different crisis point for girls that happens. What is interesting to note is a couple things, then I'm going to stop talking. One, there are a lot of things we can do to be less gender stereotyped. And even in our house, we've really worked hard to make a less gender stereotyped house in terms of all kids are involved in sports, and we really encourage like generic toys of blocks and everything else. Both my husband and I, you could say my spouse and I, are working hard to create less gender split roles in terms of household stuff. Okay, I have to confess at this point, I'm like showing you under the closets and telling you the deep dark secrets of our house, but my husband does all the grocery shopping. Yeah, I don't grocery shop. He plans all the meals. I don't do that stuff. So that's not a gender typical household in that regard. And let me tell you, I really do appreciate it because I'm really not a big fan of Walmart. So there's things we do that model gender equity more. There's things we do that don't model it. Both of us, I don't tend to drive as much. He tends to drive more. So kids more see him in the driver's seat than they do me. So some things were gender stereotyped, and some things we try to break those gender stereotypes. But even when you raise kids trying to make them less gender stereotyped, you're going to find that society, culture, expectations are still that boys are supposed to be boys and girls are supposed to be girls. Next thing, boys' gender roles is more rigid than girls. You may not think that, but it's true. Boys get much more pressure to stay within a narrow role of this is what boys do, and boys don't act like that, and boys don't cry, and boys aren't wimpy, and boys aren't gay, and boys aren't all this other stuff. And there's a narrow range of what's expected for a boy. It's very hard for boys to be boys because of some of these societal biases that I'm talking about. Girls get that too, but there's more flexibility within that. Girls have much more acceptability as a tomboy. Let me tell you about that for 1 second. If a girl is a tomboy, she's usually admired from both boys and girls. If a boy plays with the girls, he's usually like, the girls are fine with him, but the boys view him as not acceptable. So there's like a hierarchy as far as whether it's okay to be a boy doing girl things, not okay. A girl doing boy things is okay. So that kind of lets you know that there's still a hierarchy within boys are viewed as higher than girls. The final thing I think, who knows, is that boys and girls' development is so different that some researchers have argued that it's oversimplification to talk about child development. That really what we should talk about is boy development and girl development because of these differences that I'm talking about. I think that's it. Can you think of anything else? I've got like notes here, but I don't really think that, yeah. So I think that's all we're going to talk about with gender stereotypes and gender constancy. You want to see how close we live to the train? Here we go. Ready? Dun, dun, dun. Train's going by right now, so it's kind of exciting. Okay, so here's... Probably hear it. Ah, it's that train! So yeah, this is the reason we can afford our house, is the train. Now, I'll tell you a great story and then we'll finish. So one little kid, he came over to our house. Awesome. And he loved the train. He's about 8 years old. And he said, "Did you guys have to pay more for this house because it's so close to the train?" Don't you love the way kids think? Is that so totally awesome or what? Okay, have a good day. Bye.